Coming up, get to know which teams are turning up the pressure in this week's high school hoops forecast.
Akealy Moton has a unique story that took her from Louisiana to West Fargo. We'll go one-on-one with the Packer power player.
All that plus a preview of this week's biggest games. Varsity Sports starts right now. And hello and welcome to Varsity Sports alongside the Wizard, Jason Andera. I am Jay Elson. Well, folks, it's been 2 weeks since we've talked basketball on this show, so get ready for a power-packed 30 minutes because we've got some catching up to do.
Jay, did you know that we're approaching mid-February?
Well, the calendar says so yeah, I did know that.
You know, North Dakota girls Class B is already getting ready to play some district titles.
What?
And it sneaks up on us every year, but we'll fill you in. We'll fill you in with what to expect over this next precious month of basketball.
All right, well, let's get to it, shall we? We start, as we do pretty much every week, with a look at the most recent high school hoops headlines. A week and a half ago, Moton was the number one team in North Dakota, and they traveled to Madison, South Dakota one night after taking their first loss of the season in Dickinson. The Magi built a 12-point halftime lead on Class A's top-ranked team, but the Bulldogs had a little more bark in the second half. Madison eventually tied it at 52. But Moton just a little bit better down the stretch. They escaped with a 75-72 win. Peyton Lamro led the way with 17, while Kewan Johnson added 14.
Solon beat number 3 Shiloh Christian in boys basketball last Friday night. Solon now has extended their unbeaten record in District 9 with a 78-71 win. Remember, Solon's season has ended at the hands of Shiloh Christian over the past 2 seasons, so a nice game of redemption for the Sioux. Montel Carlo in that game, 32 points. Watch out for Solon.
You think they enjoyed that one just a little bit?
I think so.
EDC girls basketball is a cluster of teams at the top. Here's a look at the standings. Shanley, Red River, Wapton, all 12-3. Davies is at 11-3, and West Fargo at 10-4. Last week, Red River beat Davies, West Fargo beat Red River, Wahpeton beat both West Fargo and Shanley. Guess what? A couple more big games coming up on the schedule this week. Davies slated to face both Shanley and Wahpeton, while Red River and West Fargo get a bit of a reprieve from those other contenders.
It's going to be a lot to figure out in that division, that's for sure. Let's move to South Dakota. Freeman's Erica Sage had a big week. She broke the school record for points in a single game last Saturday. She dropped 43 against the good trip Delmont Armor squad. Sage is committed to play hoops at Northwestern College in Orange City, Iowa next season.
Congratulations to her. Maya Sellen hit another milestone. We're getting pretty used to this, aren't we?
This is a big one.
She eclipsed 2,000 career points last Thursday night against Corsica Stickney. By the way, the future Jackrabbit also closing in on 900 rebounds and 500 assists. That's
huge career for Maya.
Ridiculous. All right, well, that is a wrap for our headlines, but we have a lot more to get to in this show. Later, we're going to tell you which teams could be the surprises of March. But next, we're going to introduce you to the all-time leading scorer and rebounder in West Fargo history.
Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Mitchell Technical Institute and Farmers Union Insurance Agency.
Welcome back. For West Fargo coach Barb Metcalf, it wasn't hard to see that Akealy Moton had great natural talent. When Moton moved to North Dakota as a 4th grader, Metcalf spotted her at a skills camp and immediately moved her up with the 6th graders. But it takes more than just natural talent to achieve greatness. It took a lot of hard work for Akealy to become the all-time leading scorer and rebounder at her high school. We go one-on-one now with the future Fighting Hawk, Akealy Moton. You could say Akealy was born to play basketball. Both of her parents played at Jackson State, so you can imagine the coaching she gets at home.
I definitely hear it after games if I mess up. So I like it though, just because they know what they're talking about, just because that helps me out a lot because they have experience with that type of thing. So I know that whatever they tell me, I'm getting a right answer for it.
Akealy was born in Mississippi, then moved to Louisiana before moving to North Dakota in the 4th grade. Basketball helped her transition to the upper Midwest.
The coldness was a big thing because going from 97 every day to like a negative 20, it was definitely a big toll on me. When I first moved up here, I was kind of really shy. Like I talk different than everyone, first of all. So to me to even like speak, and they all looked at me like I was funny, but I was actually just speaking. And no, basketball definitely helped me make new friends and whatnot. I definitely got to meet a lot of new people, and I definitely enjoyed that too.
Moton came to West Fargo as a freshman, unsure of how her varsity career would unfold.
I remember freshman year, first day of practice, Metcalf was yelling and I instantly got scared. I was like, okay, I'll do my push-ups. It's definitely been a trek.
But head coach Barb Metcalf was impressed by Moton's competitiveness, and eventually, Moton earned a starting spot.
Akealy Moton is like no other that I've ever coached, and I've coached for a lot of time now, 20 plus years. And one thing about Akealy, she's a competitor, and she'll find a way to compete.
Akealy's freshman year started out great, but it ended with an ACL injury.
I wouldn't say I'd like to go through again, but I'm happy kind of that it happened in a way. Just because it made me stronger as a person, kind of like in general, because I learned that I shouldn't be grateful to just always be able to go on the court and play.
Each year since that injury, she's improved her production on the court, and now she stands alone as the all-time leader in West Fargo history in points and rebounds. A lot of colleges were looking to get Akealy into their program, but UND got the edge after Moton met Coach Travis Brewster.
Coach Brew reminds me so much of my dad that it's insane. Like, they talk the same, they act the same towards me. It's like, when I went to visit other type of schools, their coaches didn't seem as wanting to get on like a personal stance as much as Brew did with me. He walked straight up to me and gave me a bear hug, and I was like, okay, this is solid. Like, I'm liking this, you know? And I definitely felt like that was the place that I wanted to go.
While there's so much to love about Akealy's game, she can be her own worst critic. She can always find ways to improve.
Definitely could go to the left more. It seems like I only have a right hand. I could definitely learn how to shoot the ball, because I do tend to drive a lot, and I feel like everyone has definitely figured that out. So learning how to stop and shoot would also be a thing that I'd like to improve on. And I want to be that type of person that was kind of a motivator for all the youngins. I want to be kind of like good representation to the younger girls about how they should be as when they get to be a senior and whatnot.
Well, Jason, as you know, always room for improvement, right? But when you look at her numbers, you wonder, well, what's to improve, right? They're pretty good.
Let's look at her scoring. It's all the way up to 24 points per game, and it's gone up every single year since that injured year in her freshman season. And what's more impressive is all the numbers are going up. The rebounding, the assists, the steals. She is a great field goal percentage shooter, 56% on the season this year. She has really turned into the most dominant player in my eyes in all of Class A this season.
Just very well-rounded, and another thing that you look at is IQ, right? Because it's one thing to be able to produce, but to do it and to understand how to do it. And I mean, that's a trick, and it's not always overly high in high school players. You see it develop as they get older and older.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we talked about it. Both of her parents played at the college level. Barb Metcalf saw that IQ early on, and she really helps translate that basketball IQ to her teammates, which is another skill set that a lot of players don't have. So many ways that she brings value to this program.
Well, we know her high school coach loves her competitiveness as well, and her college coach, guess what? He does too.
Well, the biggest thing with Akealy that truly excites us is her competitive nature. Highly competitive, a very motivated individual. The other part about it is she's very explosive, you know, whether she has the ball in her hands or when she doesn't. And so we're really excited about that part of her. And obviously she's a really good track athlete, but basketball is her passion, you know, and the visit with her family and things like that. They're excited about being here, and we're excited about having her. So, you know, really, she's got some work to do at the same time. Obviously all freshmen do, but that competitive nature in her is going to be a big key for us.
Well, Travis Brewster and UND certainly going to love having Akealy Moton in their program. I think that's for sure.
She will translate very well to Division I basketball. That's for sure, too.
All right, well, we know defense doesn't always get the headlines, but Jason is going to change that coming up. Welcome back to Varsity Sports. Well, the weather is changing, but don't worry. Jason has an explanation. It seems a high-pressure system is responsible. Janny, what do you have for us in this week's basketball forecast?
Yes, Jay. This high-pressure system you see moving through the Dakotas, definitely the culprit. A lot of high-pressure defense has been building up in North Dakota. These numbers you see, by the way, how many points per game these teams are giving up. all very impressive numbers. And we'll start off with the Century boys, 52.7. A lot of that because of their great defense, and the steals is the reason why. 128 team steals so far. Seeing Class B, the Solon boys keeping their opponents in check. They've only allowed 50-plus points 3 different games this year. Up north, the Bearcats playing ridiculous defense. They've allowed less than 30 points per game, and of course a lot of that due to their interior defender, Macy Quilvang. In the Fargo area, Davies unbeaten because of their defense. They're giving up just 33.5% shooting. Matt Vate, almost 3 steals a game. Jake Paper, more than 2 blocks per game. Definitely defense, the reason that they're staying undefeated. And of course, the Shanley girls have been great all season for years and years because of their defense. Emily Deeds kind of carrying that tradition on, 2.5 blocks per game for her. And the team is at 14 steals per game. That is some high pressure. Let's watch that front move down into South Dakota now. And as always, St. Thomas More making their game on defense. 29 points per game yielded so far this year. As we head east, we see a lot of great defense being played. Let's start up in Langford. This team, the Langford boys, haven't given up a 50-point game yet this year. Mason Larson, a great interior defender. He's a big reason for that. Let's move to Brookings now. The top team in AA right now as far as defense goes, giving up just 39% shooting and doing a great job of just limiting the other team to just 1 shot. Their defensive rebounding percentage right now, 79.8. That's ridiculous. Great focus for them. The Harrisburg girls also tops in AA on the girls' side, and Bridgewater Emory has done a great job staying undefeated. They, by the way, held Warner to just 39 points earlier this season. That's a good offensive team that you have to play outstanding defense against. One of the reasons why they are so low. And then let's look at Ethan. Yeah, that number's real. 25 points against per game this year. There are 7 different times this season they've held their opponents to 20 points or less. So no coincidence that a lot of these teams you see here are not only great at defense, but also very high in the rankings. All right, everybody's favorite part of the forecast, the Thunder Report. We've had some new dunks in the last couple of weeks. Time to tell you about them. Let's start in Dakota State, where they had their classic last Saturday. Woolsey Wessington showed up with their man, Darian Ogunjamalusi, with the steal and the dunk on the other end. He gets some air on that liftoff. And let's take a look at Madison now, where all great dunks really start with good defense. And that's what Marcus Vandenbosch does here. Picks the pocket, perfect pass to Alex Fegan down court, who leaps just in front of the free throw line for a nice jam to finish that one off. Let's look at North Dakota now. We had some dunks sent to us from North Dakota. That's awesome. Solon, the Saints. Braden uses arrow, gets the leap there. Look at the landing, though. Didn't stick the landing. He fell down. Not very graceful, but a great dunk nonetheless. His teammate, Montel Carlo, by the way, a little more graceful on the dunk. Look at that. Gets a steal and the dunk. So very, very nice to see some North Dakota dunks. Don't forget, keep sending those dunks into the Thunder Report. My Twitter handle is at Andera Midco SN. Always looking forward to that. Now time to look at the 7-day planner. We're going to help you plan which games to watch over the next 7 days, and we've got a big one in Bismarck to start things off as Century hosts the Red Hot Dickinson team. Bridgewater Emory, we just talked about, playing against Corsica Stickney. That'll headline a great slate of games at the DWU Classic in Mitchell this Saturday. Then on Tuesday, a ton of great action. Top 5 battle in South Dakota AA between Brandon Valley and Brookings. Then Freeman will go to Ethan to test the Rustlers. Then in girls basketball in North Dakota, Century gets their toughest game of the year as they go across town to face Legacy. And then Davies and Wapton will try to separate themselves from the pack in the EDC again on a big night of games on Tuesday.
All right, well, looking forward to a great slate of games here over the next 7 days. Thank you, Jason. Well, later, we're going to make our picks on a few of those games, but next, we're going to reveal some surprise teams in a segment we like to call The Fast Break. Keep it here. And welcome back. Well, it's time to pick up the tempo now. That's right, it's fast break time. I ask the questions. Jandy has to beat the shot clock with his answer. The focus this week, surprise teams in girls basketball. Here we go with question number 1. Which team in South Dakota Class AA should we be watching out for?
Well, there's a couple teams that really starting to go on the radar here, and I think Lincoln is one of them. But the team I want to talk about is Roosevelt. They've won 7 of their last 8 right now, including wins over Lincoln, Stevens, and Washington. Taya Mitzel has been a great leader, but it's really a team effort here. The entire roster has been contributing to this comeback for Roosevelt. So I truly feel like they can be a team that can play with anybody in this class. David Maxwell's done a great job coaching this squad.
Coach Maxwell doesn't look like he's new at this thing, right?
He's got this figured out.
He's getting some things done. All right, well, same question now in Class A. Is there a team from the middle of the pack that is emerging into that contender conversation?
You know, I think a team to watch out for is Del Rapids. I mean, 4 losses on the year. Sometimes you look at that record and you just miss them. But I think now they've won 9 straight. They have to be taken seriously. And while they might not be on the same level as a St. Thomas More, I do think that they could play with pretty much any other team in this class. By the way, this Del's team just has 1 senior on the squad. So that is where you see some of that improvement from the younger class.
Yeah, and as you look further into the future, obviously,
as
good as they are right now, it's kind of scary to think what they might become. In Class B, we obviously hear a lot about Ethan and Sully Buttes and Sanborn Central, but is there another team that you want to add to that group?
You know, another team that's outside the rankings that I would watch out for is Hanson. You know, you look at the record again, 10-6 doesn't blow you away, but they've competed with some of the best teams like Ethan, Sully Buttes, Sanborn Central, as well as some of the best Class A teams, and that battle-tested schedule has really made them go into any games without any fear. And I think unlike some of these other teams that, you know, haven't won a bunch lately, this team, you know, they've kind of struggled down the stretch, but they've struggled through some really tough teams. Turned it around last night, getting a big win over Freeman, 60-44, so watch out for Hanson.
Yeah, never afraid to schedule tough competition there at Hanson on the girls' side especially. All right, well, let's move to North Dakota now. Class A has been pretty wide open, especially in the East. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Which team do you see emerging from that pack in the East? Because right now it seems like anybody's guess, doesn't it?
It really is a mess right now. And I'm not just saying this because we just featured Akealy Moton, but West Fargo now has won 10 of their last 11 games, and including wins over Red River. They've beaten Davies, they've beaten Shanley, and the one team that they haven't gotten on that list is Tyler Irwin, and that Wahpeton team lost 2 to them. But pretty much everybody else is right in their sights, and I could see these Packers making some noise at the state level. When you have a leader like Moton running the show, I think that's when you step up and take that next level, and I think the Packers are ready to do that.
Fair enough. In Class B, North Star really flexed their muscles with some big wins over some tough competition recently. We talked about that a few weeks ago, about they were going to be tested over a few weeks span, and they certainly responded to that test. So question to you, can anyone really contend with the Bearcats at this point, or are they going to run away with this thing?
Well, I thought Park River could, and they really showed that they put Park River in their place, but Carrington played right with North Star. In fact, Carrington was leading in part of that game up until the 4th quarter when North Star came back and won it. So watch out for that team. Another team to watch out for is Kindred. Still undefeated, hasn't had quite as tough of a schedule, but I think those are 2 teams that you really have to watch out for. North Star's not going to breeze through this one. Those 2 teams could make some noise.
Hey, you did it.
I did it.
Got off all the shots in
5-5.
time this week. Coaches like that. They,
Finally.
you know, that offensive efficiency. And so we like that here on the show as well. So congratulations. It never happens.
It never happens.
So well, stay tuned. We'll see if we can break our deadlock in the Pick'em department when we come back.
Varsity Sports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Mitchell Technical Institute and Farmers Union Insurance Agency.
All right, it's time for another round of high school hoops Pick'em, and boy, this thing is really heating up.
Gaining some steam here. I have lost a few in the last couple of weeks, and Jay's capitalized. Let's see what we do from here. A brand new game.
Dead even overall, dead even in points. Upset picks, you know,
It's a new season right now.
You know, we've done pretty well. All right, let's get into it. North Dakota girls coming up Tuesday night. Davies at Wahpeton.
You know, because it's at Wahpeton and because Wahpeton is playing unbelievable basketball right now, of course, Tyler Irwin getting the headlines, but Amber Lingen has done a great job contributing there, too. I think Wahpeton gets the home win.
Davies beat up Wahpeton pretty good the first time they played them. It was back on January 6th. It was a 20-point win at Davies. Since then, you talk about Huskies playing really good basketball. They've already avenged losses to Red River and Shanley. Red River has swept Davies, so you got to start to wonder then if the matchup's going to come into play. But I still think still have it in my gut that Davies is going to get
They're
the
a good
win
team.
here.
They're good.
So I'm going to go Davies. So we differ on that one. North Dakota boys Thursday night, Dickinson at Century.
Dickinson's had a tough slate over the last couple
Yeah.
of weeks, but they have come up flying, and I think they keep flying. They're figuring out that Jordan Meidinger needs a few more touches down low, and when he does, they are a different team. They're going to win this
Are
one.
you suggesting he's a difficult matchup for people?
Very difficult matchup.
Get this, though. Dickinson's won 11 straight games, right? They beat Century 73-59 on January 10th. I think they complete the season sweep. Give me Dickinson as well. South Dakota now, girls basketball doubling. Coming up Saturday, Brandon Valley and Aberdeen Central.
You know what? Brandon Valley's had a tremendous season. Aberdeen Central's went through a little lull over the last couple of weeks, but they're coming back strong right now. Peyton Burkhardt has got this team back on her shoulders. I think Aberdeen Central wins with, again, the home court advantage.
Yeah, second matchup between these two teams. The first one in Brandon on January 14th, just a 5-point game. Aberdeen Central lost that one. I think they avenged that. The Lynx have only just 2 losses on the season, both on the road at Sioux Falls Roseville, who you talked about playing well earlier. Harrisburg is the top team in the class.
Right.
So I think Aberdeen Central is going to get the Lynx at home as well.
Yeah,
we
we
agree on
agree.
that one. South Dakota boys now, also Saturday, Bridgewater Emory at Corsica Stickney.
Corsica Stickney's had a couple of really impressive wins this
They have.
year, but they haven't seen a team like Bridgewater Emory who gets it done low, and they get it done with Sawyer Schultz on the outside. Give me Bridgewater Emory.
7 points, the closest margin of victory for Bridgewater Emory so far this year. They've got 11 wins by at least 20 points. I don't think that's going to happen in this game. My question, how are they going to respond if they get tested? Because Corsica Stickney is a team that could test them. I think they're going to answer the call, and I think Bridgewater Emory gets the win. All right, quickly, upset picks.
I'm going to take the Washington boys to beat Rapid City Stevens. Okay. They're at home. I'll give them the nod.
I like North Dakota boys B basketball. Linton HMB over Shiloh Christian. Lions 7-0 at home against North Dakota schools. All 3 of Shiloh's losses have come on the road. I think they're going to lose number 4
Might be onto something.
on the road. All right, that is our time for this week. For Jay Standera, I'm Jay Elson. Enjoy the games, everybody.